So within gap analysis, some people will recognize the basic framework that I'm talking about if you're familiar with KSAs, which is usually knowledge, skills, attitude is the acronym for that. I actually have 6 categories that I most commonly use. And then there's some subcategories underneath of these. And well, typically procedures exist for things where there really isn't a lot of sort of judgment and variability. It's like step 1, step 2, step 3. We know that being a manager is often more complicated than driving a car, but people typically get more practice driving a car than they do being a manager before. The issue is that so much training and development tends to focus on those first 2 categories, the knowledge and the procedures. But when we design for these, we might have to have some other solutions that we're bringing into play. Some of the big things that we're dealing with when we're dealing with knowledge, one is the issue of cognitive load. How do I give people the right amount of knowledge or information and not overwhelm them? Because there's a lot of overwhelm in the world. If you're a math professor, multiplication is going to have a pretty low cognitive load, germane cognitive load. But if you're a fourth grader, it's going to be much higher germane cognitive load. When we look at memory models, the most kind of best known and widely accepted one is the information processing model, which kind of looks at how memory works, but it also, in addition to being how memory work, kind of works as a way to think about how people focus and pay attention. And when we get into retention, so the process for learning to do something that you need to practice and become skilled at is you get familiar with what it is you're doing, you kind of comprehend it. So one of the things I think is a really common problem in skills practice and so forth is we just don't spend enough time with people practice stuff once and then in the training class and get sent out into the world. And we focus a lot on things. And sometimes our advent into this is things like job aids or whatever that we can at least put into the environment as a resource or an aid. You're not trying to convince them that your approach is best. You're saying, hey, you told me this is a good way to do this. Let's talk about how we can translate that into a learning experience for people.